Moninga ndeko yango azali na biso awa te. Azali na mosika na Canada nde na science isali ete akoloba kuna biso tokoyoka pe tokomona ye na bilili.
Hi, Richard.
Hi.
Thank you for making time.
Hey, how are you?
We're very good. We're in the middle of the rainforest here in a place called Boteka in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And we're
Nice.
Yeah. We're sitting here with about 200 people who work on a former Unilever plantation, and we're building some kind of an art center here because we believe that there is, they too have to make a transition from the, let's say, the forest economy to something beyond that.
Well, thank you. And I only wish that we could be with you today because, as you may know, I literally just finished and the 10th anniversary edition of Rise of the Creative Class Revisited. So it's really fresh in my mind. And
Wonderful.
What's interesting is in that book, I began to think that when people talk about economic development, they talk about hardware, they talk about companies, they talk about technology, they talk about using tax breaks to bring a company to a city or a country. And I began to see that that wasn't the whole equation.
Yeah.
And then I was able to look at the trend in the rise of this group of people who is principally artists, designers, culturally creative people, entertainers, musicians, writers, entrepreneurs, technologists, innovators, researchers, and professional people. And then I came up with a very simple model of what it takes to make a creative community, a creative city, a creative country. And I called it the 3 T's, technology, talent, and tolerance. And when you put the 3 T's together in a community, that was the spur to this creative model of development. When studying development, artistic creation comes before roads, comes before schools, comes before hospitals. So in the development process, investing in artistic and creative infrastructure deliberately and strategically is quite important to an overarching strategy to achieve higher levels of development and higher standards of living.
Right. We call this program a gentrification program. We have the impression, or our little new arts institution has the impression that on the one hand, much new art deals with all kinds of economical issues and wants to be very critical of them, and which is very good, obviously, because there's many things wrong in the world and it needs to be addressed. It can be addressed through art. But on the other hand, the economic return of such art is hardly in the same places as what is critiqued. Let's say you could make a video of showing how poor people are in Congo, for example, but what happens is that this video is then maybe shown in New York or in London and generates an economy in London rather than in Congo. So this is something we would like to try and reverse. So we call it a reverse gentrification. That would be maybe a better way of putting it. Would you have any comment on that? Do you have? Of course, you've been, some people don't like you because art would be instrumentalized by this creative class concept. We actually want to bring it further and make it really work and bring about development and happiness.
It's a very interesting intellectual, conceptual, and pragmatic issue that you raised. And so I think those contradictions that you mentioned are part of the development of capitalism in the creative age. And I think it's incumbent upon us, artists and creative people, to lead in those struggles and not simply, and I'm saying this with all humility, complain.
We're ready for one question here. There's a gentleman, his name is René Ngongo. René, will you come here and talk to Richard?
Juste une petite question. Je suis ravi par votre théorie des 3T, technologie, talent et tolérance. Mais je voudrais contextualiser dans le cas du Congo, où certainement il y a des talents, mais qu'on n'arrive pas à identifier. Quel conseil vous nous donnez pour mettre en œuvre les 3T, particulièrement le deuxième T, les talents en RDC?
So Mr. Gongo is very impressed by your theory, especially by the 3 T's, the talent, the technology, and what was the third?
Tolérance.
Tolerance. And he says it's certainly all here. What would you advise us, him, and all the people try and develop their talent? And I think that would be the final question also.
I would do it together. We need, in this moment of crisis, new models of development. And what we need is experiments with new things that are engaging human creativity and developing the human spirit and human purpose and human meaning. That's what you can achieve with your project. You can be an experiment, and I think the world is very hungry. The world wants a new model that isn't driving wages down, that isn't a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
And in the Congo, with what you're doing, you have the opportunity to show that in a place that isn't the wealthiest place on the planet, in a place that has struggled, you can put in place a new model.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, Richard. I think it's what we're trying to do. Of course, there's more to it, but it's really fantastic, and that you give us this advice. And I think you also, we're kind of at the end of the scheduled talk, and I know you have many other talks to do. So we'll kind of stop here, I believe. Thanks again.
Yes.
And
keep us posted on how you're doing.